Russian troops are intensifying their efforts on 4 different fronts in the eastern direction, employing a range of military tactics, according to the commander of the eastern group of troops, Oleksandr Syrsky. In the sector of Kupyansk, the Russian forces are aggressively attempting to capture Sinkivka, aiming to establish control and block Kupyansk. Kupyansk is a major rail hub with 5 different lines intersecting in the town, one of which leads directly into Russia, making it a hugely important strategic objective when Moscow launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The town was occupied just 3 days after the start of Russia's offensive, largely thanks to its pro-Russian mayor Hennady Matsuhora, who surrendered Kupyansk without a fight. 6 months later, however, it was recaptured by Ukraine. Despite facing losses, Russian troops have regrouped, moving units from other directions, with the total personnel of Russian assault units exceeding 2,000. Simultaneously, in the Limansky direction, Russians have resumed offensive operations, seeking to dislodge Ukrainian armed forces from the Serebryansky forestry area and expand the Torsky Ledge. In the Siversky direction, Russian forces are working to develop an offensive in the disputed and Belogorovka areas. The preparation of assault units, including paratroopers, indicates a potential offensive in the direction of Soledar and Seversk. The Bakhmut direction is witnessing intense fighting as the Russian Federation strives to seize Bogdanivka and reclaim lost positions in Klishchivka, Kurdyumivka, and Andriivka. Assault groups, including the Volunteer Corps and Caspian Flotilla Marines, are actively engaged in these attacks. Commander Syrsky highlighted the increased use of armored vehicles, kamikaze drones, and intensified artillery attacks by Russian troops in the eastern region. Despite the challenging circumstances, Ukrainian defense forces are inflicting losses on the enemy. In the past week alone, the Russians incurred over 3,000 personnel casualties, with more than 1,000 fatalities. Additionally, Ukrainian forces destroyed or damaged 361 units of Russian equipment, including 43 tanks, 83 armored combat vehicles, and 69 artillery systems. Syrsky emphasized that Ukrainian commanders at all levels are taking necessary measures to fortify defense and impede enemy advancements across all offensive directions. The commander acknowledged the complexity of the situation, citing the need to confront an adversary superior both in armament and personnel numbers. On Ukraine's front lines, how fast you can spot a buzzing enemy quadcopter can determine whether you survive an imminent artillery barrage or an attack by the drone itself. That's driven intense demand for the low-budget drone detectors cobbled together by Ukrainian software engineers turned defense entrepreneurs. But not everyone who wants one can get one. The devices are manufactured primarily by startup companies that lack the funding and experience to keep up with demand, and that rely on volunteers like so much of Ukraine's wartime defense production. Drones are ubiquitous across the front line in Ukraine, from sophisticated military-grade surveillance aircraft to cheap suicide quadcopters. Both Russia and Ukraine likely field at least 50,000 first-person view, FPV, suicide drones per month, said Samuel Bendett of the Center for Naval Analysis. Next year, Ukraine hopes to produce 1 million FPV drones, which would effectively double Bendett's assessment of the current monthly rate of production. The drones are deadly. At least 1 out of every 5 Ukrainian FPV drones hits its target, said Ihor Dvoretsky, a project manager with Ukraine's defense ministry. And if a Russian Orlan artillery spotting drone notices you, you have 3 minutes to do something, said Dmitro, a founder of drone detecting company Kupyansk. Dmitro, like other founders in this article, is referred only by his first name for security reasons. In response to the threat, Ukrainian software engineers have thrown themselves into learning everything from electronic warfare to soldering in order to build drone-detecting devices. Many devices are cheap, costing less than $250 for handheld models, and upwards of $400 for more sophisticated stationary models. Another Dmitro, the founder of prominent drone-detecting company Drone Spices, first responded to Russia's full-scale invasion by ginning up psychological operations. Using lists of phone numbers purchased online, he sent text messages to Russian soldiers fighting in Ukraine encouraging them to stop.
Орудие заряжено и наведено! Орудие! Выстрел! Армата! Выстрел! Ствол чистый!